Hello, everyone. I am so sorry. We will get started, but welcome to our Kapnick Strive March webinar, Thriving with Purpose, Aligning Actions with Values. Today, we're going to explore what it means to live with purpose and how aligning our daily actions with our core values can lead to greater fulfillment, resilience, and well-being. Many of us strive to live meaningful lives, but with the busyness of work, family, and responsibilities, it can feel disconnected from what truly matters to us. So let's get started. But before we dive into how to align our actions with our values, let's take a moment to define purpose. Purpose is our deeper reason for doing what we do. It's the why behind our actions, choices, and goals. It can give our lives direction and meaning, maybe guiding us towards fulfillment and satisfaction. Purpose can be broad, like wanting to make a positive impact in the world, or more specific, like dedicating yourself to helping others through your career or personal passions. It doesn't have to be grand or world changing, it simply needs to be meaningful to you. Research shows that people who have a strong sense of purpose experience greater happiness, resilience, and even better health. So, understanding and embracing our purpose, whatever that means to you, can lead to a more engaged and meaningful life. So, now you might start thinking, I've heard all about this before, and I'm not sure it applies to me. Maybe you're not passionate about any one singular thing, or you're passionate about so many things you feel spread thin. A common misconception is that everyone must have one singular life purpose. And we see these people all around us. People who devote their lives through causes like the environment, civil rights, or helping others. And while this is often aspirational, it might not apply to everyone. The truth is, purpose isn't always one big overarching mission, like we see in figures in the media. It can evolve, shift, and take different forms throughout our lives. For some parts of our lives, our purpose might be to support our families. For others, it might be personal exploration or contributing to the community. And whatever you may find your purpose to be for a few years can change with the different seasons of your life. So instead of thinking of purpose as a single destination, consider it more as a guiding compass. Some people find deep purpose in their careers, while others find it in relationships, creativity, or personal growth. Everyone is different, and purpose is subjective. What's more important is that we live intentionally, aligning our actions with what truly matters to us. If you're not sure what your purpose is, don't worry. But by understanding your values, you can begin to shape a path that feels right for you. Here's a quote from writer Robert Byrne. The purpose of life is a life of purpose. Again, the purpose of life is a life of purpose. But how do we live a life of purpose, even if we don't know exactly what that means for us? We start by taking a look at our personal values. Values are the principles that define what is most important to us. They shape our decisions, influence our behaviors, and help us determine what feels right or wrong. Some common values include integrity, growth, family, creativity, adventure, and kindness. These values act as a foundation for how we interact with the world. Again, think of values as your internal compass. When you live in alignment with them, you feel fulfilled, energized, and at peace. And when your actions contradict your values, you may feel frustrated, unmotivated, or even lost. So, for example, if you value honesty, but you're in a position where you frequently have to bend the truth, you likely don't feel aligned or comfortable. And that's why identifying your core values is such a critical step in living with purpose. It can be easy to go through life thinking of some good values as quote unquote good, like love, happiness, honesty, etc. And we might know vaguely what values we find more important, but it can be helpful to take the time to really look at values and decide what's important to us. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take the next few minutes to define our values. So we're going to do a short exercise to identify your core values. I want you to think about the qualities, beliefs, or principles that are most important to you. So if you are able to, grab a pen or pencil and a piece of paper to get started. And once you're ready, take a look at the list on the screen. Now, this is a list of values, and if you'd like a closer look at the list or a printable version, please feel free to scan the QR code on this slide. Now, to start, I want you to choose 5 values that resonate the most with you. These should be things that truly matter in your life. If a word doesn't appear on this list but feels right to you, go ahead and write it down. And it can be hard to narrow it down, but remember, there are no right or wrong answers. This is simply exploring what is important to you. So write down your top 5. And if you need to start with a longer list, that's okay. You can start with 10 if you need, and then narrow it down to 5. Sometimes it can be easier to select from a much smaller pool. So I'm going to give everyone 1 minute on the clock, and I will come back. Awesome. I hope everyone has selected some of their top 5 or picked 10 and then narrowed it down to 5. Um, so again, you can continue looking at this, scan the QR code as we go through the presentation. But I know for me, one of them I'm selecting is giving back. But I'm now going to pass the presentation on to Renee, who will be discussing this matter further.
Thanks, Lexi. I would also like to add one little tip that may help you identify your values if you're struggling to do this. And that can be frustration, like Lexi touched on earlier. Frustration in our lives often stems from our actions not aligning with our values. For example, if you're frustrated by your weight, maybe health is one of your values, and you're not feeling aligned with that value by how you're eating and taking care of yourself. Taking the time to understand your frustration can be a powerful tool. So now that you've got your top 5 written down, let's narrow that list down to your top 3. These 3 are your non-negotiables. They are the values that guide your daily actions and define how you want to live your life. So take a moment to reflect on your top 3 and do your current day-to-day actions align with these values? Why or why not? And if they don't worry, we'll explore how to create better alignment. So now that you've identified your values, Let's talk about how they shape your purpose. Your purpose is often a reflection of what you care about most. For example, if one of your top values is connection, your purpose might involve fostering strong relationships or helping others feel heard and understood. If your value is growth, your purpose might be about learning and evolving throughout life. When we ignore our values, we may feel disconnected, frustrated, or unfulfilled. But when we live in alignment with them, we experience greater clarity, motivation, and satisfaction. So instead of searching for a singular life purpose, focus on using your values to guide your choices and actions each day. So now that we understand how values shape our purpose, the next step is aligning our daily actions with them. Living with purpose isn't about making big, dramatic changes overnight. It's about small, intentional choices that reflect what matters most to you. So you don't need to run out and get a new job or sell all your belongings or live a life totally different starting tomorrow. It's about altering what you're already doing to meet your self-identified needs. A simple way to check alignment is to ask yourself, does this action reflect what I value most? For example, if you value health, but frequently skip exercise, there's a disconnect. If you value family, but you work late every night, you might feel unfulfilled. So one powerful habit is setting daily intentions. You can do this in the morning while you're drinking your coffee or drinking your shake, and just take a moment to decide how you live out your values that day. You could think about this internally. You could write it down in your phone note app, or you can jot your intentions in a journal. However you do it, it's just important that you try it every day. So even these small steps, like expressing gratitude if you value kindness or scheduling time with loved ones if you value connection, can create powerful shifts in your life over time. And if daily intentions feel like too much to start off with, you can try doing them weekly or monthly. This might make it easier to set achievable goals that are aligned with your values. So even when we know our values, let's face it, obstacles can get in the way. Some common barriers include fear of failure, self-doubt, distractions, the overwhelming busyness of daily life, and just plain old apathy. The key to overcoming these barriers is awareness, identifying what's holding you back, whether it's prioritizing work over personal time, fear of making a big change, or just feeling stuck in routines that don't serve you any longer. Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, reframe them as learning opportunities. If you struggle to stay aligned with your values, ask yourself why and what you can do to adjust. To help with this, we'll take a moment to create an action plan. Take a moment to think of one barrier you face in aligning with your values. Maybe it's time, willpower, or confidence. Once you identify your barrier, reflect on it and write down a small step you can take to overcome it. For a time barrier, how can you create more time in your schedule? Can you get up a half hour earlier? Stay up a half hour later? If it's willpower, can you create a system of accountability? Can you share your goals with a friend or a coach? For confidence, how can you support yourself and remind yourself that you're capable of achieving the things you set out to do? Maybe that's making a list of all the past accomplishments that you've already achieved. So making this your goal. A key part of thriving with purpose is cultivating the right mindset. Self-awareness helps us recognize when we are or are not living in alignment with our values. One way to strengthen this awareness is through regular reflection. So it can be journaling, mindfulness, or even a simple end of day check-in can help you assess whether your actions reflect your values. A growth mindset is also essential. Instead of viewing challenges as roadblocks, see them as opportunities to grow. When something doesn't go as planned, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? And doing this without judgment is so important because that is how we grow and learn. And this shift in perspective allows you to stay resilient and adaptable while staying true to your purpose. Now, Emma will be taking it from here and discussing this further.
Thank you, Renee. So as we've said, aligning your actions with your values isn't a one-time task. It's about building sustainable habits that reinforce what matters most to you. So again, start small. Instead of trying to make a major life change all at once, focus on just one small habit that supports your values. So for example, if you value learning, that could look like committing to reading just 5 pages of a book each night, or maybe listening to a short podcast each day. We can also pair new habits with our existing routines. This can be really helpful. So if you already drink coffee every morning, maybe use that time to reflect on your daily intention, like Renee suggested. Tracking your progress can also be motivating. So whether you use a journal, a habit tracking app, or a simple checklist, seeing your progress over time can help reinforce commitment. And most importantly, set realistic goals. So if your habit feels overwhelming, break it down into smaller, manageable steps. To do this, you might consider creating a SMART goal or a goal that's specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. You can scan the QR code on this slide for a printable SMART goal worksheet and tracker. Living with purpose doesn't mean having a rigid, unchanging path. It's not about acting out the same habits every day for the rest of your life. Life circumstances evolve, and it's important to remain flexible while staying true to your values. So sometimes your purpose may shift as you grow. Maybe a career that once felt meaningful no longer aligns with your values. Maybe personal challenges require you to reevaluate your priorities, or maybe your values are changing. And that's all okay because we as humans change over time with our experiences. Now, resilience is about staying grounded in your purpose even when things don't go as planned. So instead of resisting this inevitable change, we ask ourselves, how can I adapt while staying true to what matters most? Regular reflection can help you realign when we're confronting this change. So when life feels off balance, take a step back and reassess whether your actions still reflect your values and vice versa. If not, you can make small adjustments to get back on track. And as we wrap up, I want to encourage you to take one small action today that aligns with your values. It doesn't have to be big. It could be a decision, a conversation, or a simple habit shift. And then make it a regular habit to reflect on your progress, maybe weekly, monthly, whatever works for you. Are your actions aligning with your values? And if not, what adjustments can you make? As mentioned, accountability can be a powerful tool. So consider sharing your commitment with a friend, a mentor, or your journal. Saying your intentions out loud also increases the likelihood of follow through. Finally, as we said, purpose isn't static. Remember, it evolves. So keep refining your actions and don't be afraid to reevaluate your path as you grow. Purposeful living is an ongoing journey and not a one-time destination. And what's more, it does not affect your value as a human being. So we leave you with this reflection question. What is one action you can take this week to align your daily life with your core values? If you would like to learn more on this topic, there are a few resources on this slide, starting off with a podcast called Unlocking Us with Brene Brown. The episode specifically is titled Living into Our Values, and it's a discussion about our values exercise, everything we've mentioned today in this webinar. So there's more information in that podcast and on Brene Brown's website. Secondly, a guided meditation. This is just on YouTube and it's titled Discover a Deep and Meaningful Life Purpose. This is a guided meditation meant to help you explore your values, what's important to you, and maybe help shape that purpose if you are not quite sure what it looks like. And then lastly, a book from Thich Nhat Hanh, available wherever books are sold. This is a wonderful book, predominantly focused on mindfulness and living our life with the best of intentions. So thank you for joining us on our Strive webinar this month. Our next webinar is on April 30th. From noon to 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is all about epigenetics and the things that we can do to influence how our genes express themselves. So if you'd like to learn more about your genes and your health, please scan the QR code on this slide to register, and we will see you next month.
So we did also have a question that came in, and feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A box if you have any. But Jessica asked, if looking at purpose from a company or organizational level, could it also be called mission or vision, or are these different? I'm going to open up to Renee and Emma as well to answer this, but also feel free to, respond back to her. I think they could be the same, but they also could be different as well. If, choosing what are the values that your company has, and that can help. Does your mission or does the purpose or does your vision, is that guiding it based upon the values that you have? So I hope that helped. I know it's not a black and white answer, but this never is, because it is subjective again, and it's going to look a little bit different to everyone. But again, as Emma said, thank you for joining us. Feel free to reach out to us at strive@kapnick.com if you do have any further questions. Have a great day.